Hi everyone, welcome to my very first interview on my YouTube channel. I'm very proud to present you my first guest, Odoamne. Thank you for joining me.
Thanks. I'm so happy to be your first interview on your brand new YouTube channel.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, what a better way to start the year than having a really cool chat with you. It's been a while since we talked. We're just getting out of a super week, 3 days, 3 intense days after not playing on stage for, I don't know, 3 months. How was it for you?
Surprisingly tiring, to be honest, because usually I'm used to just 2 days and then have an off day, but now actually overclocking a bit and having to do 3 LEC days, it was kind of exhausting. Even though we won in the manner that we won, I still kind of feel like I'm shutting down today. So, but yeah, I mean, it's great to be back. I missed playing on the virtual office stage because we can't really play live yet, sadly. But yeah, nonetheless, I'm really happy to be back and competing with Rogue.
Same. Although I'm not happy we were not back in the studio fully. How is it in Berlin right now for you guys? I know some teams are, just sleeping in the gaming house and also playing from the gaming house. What is the Rogue system here for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it might be like that for some teams because I don't know if everyone has offices, but for us, we kind of have, we have the separate player apartment where we all just kind of like hang out and sleep and all of this. And yeah, we just have like the office where kind of all the scrims and prep and practice and all of that kind of happens. So yeah, where you guys like see us play on camera, it's our office.
Okay. So they didn't change from last year for Rogue. Well, what do you note from this weekend with the league, for yourself, with all the teams we met? We've got a lot of new top laners entering the league. 5, I think, total. I mean, we saw most of them playing in minor leagues. But yeah, I mean, we knew most of them, but they never played in the LEC before, except White Knight. I think he was playing in LCS back then.
Yeah, he played, I think, 2 years ago or 3. I forgot with who it was. I can't remember. But yeah, I mean, there's some new changes with like the tops. Some of the old guys went away or went back to ERLs and stuff. But I think overall, I'm not sure if it's an upgrade so far from like what I've seen over the old guys. But it's kind of like nice to have fresh competition because when you scrim over the course of a year, I guess against the same guys, it kind of
gets boring.
Not really. I mean, it gets boring as well. But in terms of productivity, you kind of hit like a point where you don't really gain anything from scrimming others and other people's playstyles and stuff. While right now, when say even if there's like now 5 new players, even if they're worse than the older guys, they bring in different styles. So it's always something I feel like I can pick up when playing against them because they have different tendencies than the others used to have. So it's like always new things that I can, think about and be like, is this good or is this bad, and kind of look to incorporate in my gameplay as well. So that's why I'm not sure if they're better than what we had before, but I think so far from the beginning it looks promising. I think it's a step in the right direction for the level of like skill and talent for EU.
Yeah, I mean, on my end, I feel like the standings as we see them after the week 1 kind of look like what I expected in the league. Would you agree? Is it like what you've seen in scrims maybe?
Let me pull them out.
Of course.
But let me see. So G2 Rogue, Misfits Astralis, Excel. Oh, it's like everyone is 1 and 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm surprised because last year there was the mighty Schalke Nulfir, with myself included. We are leading the standings from the bottom. So it's kind of nice to see that there's no one left behind. There's like a happy gang of how many teams are there? 7 teams being 1 and 2. So everyone just kind of like, vibing and hanging out. So let me see. So G2 Rogue, Misfits, and then everyone else. Misfits is surprising for me because I would not have expected it when I saw them like complete the roster, but at the same time, it also might also be the strength of their like schedule, because I'm not sure if the teams they played were really like the best in the league. So let me see who they played. They played Excel. No, they didn't. Sorry, they played Fnatic, Mad Lions, and Vitality. So they lost to Vitality. See, the victory they have against Mad and Fnatic is kind of like unexpected, like if you would look at the schedule, maybe you would think it's 1 and 2 or so on. But them having 2-1 over Fnatic and Mad Lions is kind of impressive. And when you look at the roster, at least when they made the announcement at the beginning of the season, I wouldn't really think that they're like really, really strong. I kind of expected them to just kind of stay in the same bracket as they did for the last year, where they're like kind of like between 5th and 7th, depending on how they show up. But I think there's a level of talent there that is surprising to me, and I feel like they might have, I wouldn't say won the off season, but they made like, they kind of have these players that are like so like under the radar, but they kind of fit so well that it actually puts them more up the standing. I mean, obviously it's only first week and it's too early to say if they're gonna like keep up the form like this. But from like when we played them and what we saw on stage, they look pretty good.
What I take from this first week is that I felt like most of teams played not scared, but sloppy. And of course, it's the first week. It's people adjusting to things. But I didn't get that from Rogue. You guys seem to be on the same page from the get-go. How do you explain that?
I mean, it's kind of surprising considering how bloody our scrims are and how aggressive we play in our scrims, But also at the same time, I feel like the teams we played against this week, like against Fnatic, it was like kind of a stomp, and we would like kill them a lot and punish them for all their mistakes.
We don't talk about Fnatic for now.
We just let them chill for a couple of weeks until they get back in form. Okay, that's fine with me. But as a comparison, like we had the games against who was it? SK, and who else did we play? NXL. Not much was happening, and they were just kind of giving us the map, So it was kind of like, yeah, you guys don't want to fight us, but at the same time, we get to just deny a lot of waves, take all your jungle camps, and all of this. So it's kind of like it's kind of like squeezing water for us from a stone, I guess, because they didn't really want to do anything, and they weren't really giving us opportunities, to punish them like Fnatic did. But at the same time, I feel like the next step for us would be to kind of create situations where we have to make them give us opportunities to like punish them. We shouldn't really like wait for the free punish that they would give by like doing bad macro decisions, So yeah, I think why we were kind of like slow in the sense that we weren't really like getting a lot of kills, and we were mostly playing for like objectives and farm and all of this, is because enemies were kind of putting themselves in the position where they didn't really want to like skirmish and fight with us just because we were so ahead, while Fnatic kind of did, and that's why you saw that we had like 30 kills against them or whatever it was, because Hilly and the other gang from there, they were just kind of like wanting to fight us, so we were just kind of collecting free kills over and over. But that's kind of like the feeling I got as well, that most teams in LEC right now are kind of just like playing it slow, and they're not really like super willing to I can't find a better word, but they're not super willing to flip it, and just take 50-50 fights, or just kind of skirmish a lot. They're kind of just waiting for free plays and objectives and stuff. But at the same time, I just be like, first couple of weeks, most of the teams are still new, and they need time to kind of discover their way of playing and how they like to operate as a team. So with coming weeks, you might even see a lot of these teams kind of flourish to have their own playstyle, and us maybe even beginning to struggle. Who knows? Because it's kind of like it's kind of always like this up and down thing where you play so well. I think in Schalke, for example, in 2019, when we went like 7-2 in spring, and then we missed playoffs. It was kind of the same thing. We were like so dominant for like the first part of the split, and then most of the teams will like hit a wall where
The honeymoon phase, basically. That's what I heard.
I wouldn't even say it's like the honeymoon phase, because it's like honeymoon phase is pretty much when you're just so like blooming with positivity, you know, that even when someone makes a mistake and a lot of negative things happen and everyone should be angry, you're still not angry because it's honeymoon phase, and you're like, yeah, guys, we can do it, and all of this stuff. But I don't know, with Schalke, or like most of the time, every team kind of has this. At one point, you hit a wall where you feel like there's no progression, you know, and you can't really pinpoint how to get better. And for example, that's kind of like what happened with Schalke back in 2019. We hit the wall for like 6 weeks and we couldn't do anything. Yeah, so that's kind of like the issue that is kind of happening every year, I think, because that's why even Schalke Miracle Run happened, you know, because we hit the wall early in the season, and then we were kind of like in good vibes all the time, and then most of the teams had like hit that wall and they had civil wars for like the end of the split, because that's usually what happens every year. I mean, we're going off topic here, but every summer split, if you noticed, like every year when it comes to like week 5 or 6, there's always like, I think, 3, 4, or 5 teams that are just imploding, you know, they're all having civil war inside, and then everything goes to shit pretty much.
And that's my next question, Odo. How do you prevent things from going to shit, as you mentioned? I mean, I want to believe that the experience you had last year with Schalke taught you a lot on how to handle difficult situations. And when I think about the good stuff that are happening with Rogue right now, I'm thinking if things go bad, then you're gonna have the experience enough to help the team get through it in a way.
Yeah, I mean, having someone to guide the whole squad through like such a negative thing like this is valuable, but it mostly needs to be there needs to be willingness from everyone to kind of like overcome it, you know, because there could always be like one person who's like has a bit of an attitude, you know, where he's like, yeah, it's not really my fault, it's everyone else's fault, and blah blah blah, you know. And it needs to be like, because when you hit those walls, they're like kind of really desperate situation where you really need to get everyone on the same page and try to push through it, even though it's like mostly a cloud of negativity around you. So having the experience helps, and having like a good support staff that I feel like Rogue is going to help in case that happens. But it's mostly up to the players, I would say, to kind of get over it. That's why I feel like in Schalke, even though, say, we weren't really, you know, the most talented on paper, where you're not really like, oh, we have Caps, Jankos, and everyone's like top 1 in their role. But I feel like the thing that saved us back then was the fact that we are all really humble and accepting of the fact that we need to work and be a unit to get out of this situation, you know. So the willingness that everyone had to push through that like harsh period was kind of what saved it, I think.
Okay. It's so interesting when you think about teams, that what works and what doesn't, because sometimes you will have a super team being built for greatness and nothing's going to work and no one knows why. And like you said, sometimes you have a mix of players who on paper are maybe not the best at their roles, but the synergy and the fact that they're on the same page works for them. You mentioned the culture at Rogue during the post-game lobby, everything they're teaching you, the way they're approaching things. Can you tell me more about this, the way they work and how they're able to make you guys confident from the get-go and on the same page?
Well, right off the bat, the support staff is pretty big, I would say. There's like a lot of people like backstage that kind of help us with a lot of things. There's like, they have like head coach, assistant coach, performance coach. They have even like a chef, and there's like a lot of like people that are like in the coaching staff, like kind of supporting each other. So it's kind of like a big step forward for me compared to like Schalke, where we had only like head coach Dylan and an analyst. Then again, I'm not saying that like what Schalke did was like, you know, bad or anything, because there's no like standard, or there's no
real
norm.
system in esports.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of like everyone kind of is kind of like a feeling thing where you're like, you feel you can do this with this much, but obviously, yeah, it can work and not work for some teams. But with Rogue, there's like a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. Like our performance coach, Isma, is
He's
kind
great.
of yeah, he's great. He's the guy from that was with Misfits back in the day. But yeah, he's great. He's like doing so much for like at least my mentality, because even though like I'm a veteran, I still kind of get nervous sometimes. It's not really like, because there's a difference between like being nervous, and choking,
Yeah.
So I feel like feeling nervous is fine as long as you kind of like channel that feeling, or like use it in like a positive way, because being nervous means that you kind of like care, or you're like anxious. Well, anxious is like such a negative word, but you're kind of like anxious about something because you like put so much like time and work into something. And he does a lot of things for us, or at least for me, to kind of like help me get over it, because like, to be honest, all these 3 days I was kind of like anxious, I guess, or like nervous for the games. And most of the time there were like situations where I felt like I would kind of stay nervous or like anxious throughout the whole game. Well, not throughout the whole game, but through the beginning stages of the game. But the things we do is kind of like helping me to just kind of balance it out and just be fine, or like feel perfectly fine when the game starts. So yeah, I mean, stuff like that I didn't really have access to over the course of my career, and having access to it now feels really good, because I feel like I can put on better performances, or like I can do my job better, because like honestly, these 3 games I didn't really do much. I'm just kind of like, I mean, I'm just chilling and doing my job, I'm just not inting and keeping it stable.
And you were crying 2 days ago on post-game lobby because you didn't get player of the game. Wow. And here you're telling me you didn't do anything.
I mean, that's true, but that's kind of the meme, Imagine my who was it? TF was like 8-0 or something first game, and I'm a cannon that is 0-1 and 3, literally doing nothing, just running around trying to hit people, and I do nothing, and I'm like, yeah, guys, I deserve MVP, because it's kind of like a meme. So that's why I'm kind of crying, because when I'm gonna get MVP, I'm gonna be shocked. I'm probably still gonna cry somehow to kind of just make it funny, but.
Please don't cry during an interview. Please don't cry during an interview. I wouldn't know.
I mean, Laure, if you want to do another sad interview, you kind of have to wait for next split, because right now we're 3-0. So I mean, we could a disaster could still happen, so we can still have our sad moment of the year, and make Twitch chat spam Bible thump. But
no disaster this year, Odo. I feel like this year
we had enough sad interviews for last year. So
yeah, and this year is yours, it seems. I mean, you're clicking with a Rogue already, and you mentioned that you entered. Actually, that's an interesting approach, because you arrive as a veteran, and you told in post-game lobby that you tried to fit in with the team and not have the team adapt to the way you work. And I feel like it's even harder as a veteran to enter a new team, because you have all this work process, all your personal ways to do things, and all of a sudden you have to adapt. So how did you do it with Rogue?
It's still kind of like rough, because for example, there's like a lot of things that I would do different, or there's straight up like mistakes. Like objectively, they're mistakes, It's not like, oh, I feel this could be better and we should maybe try and do this. It's just like objectively, it's kind of bad, But at the same time, coming in, I can't really be. I felt like I couldn't really be a guy that comes in to a team just like, and after 1 week, I'm just like, okay, guys, this is bad. We need to do this instead and stuff, because I feel like it's not really my place when I'm kind of like. I came to Rogue, not Rogue came to me. So I feel like I need to. It feels right to just be patient, because there's gonna be a time where, I mean, honeymoon phase or whatever is gonna end, and things are gonna get rough, and I need to kind of like step in, or like be more like push my opinion a bit stronger. But at the same time, it's kind of, I came to Rogue. And I'm trying to fit into what Rogue's identity is, and I'm just kind of trying to provide my experience and input when it's like necessary. When I feel like they're kind of like stuck and they don't really find like a good solution. That's kind of like when I try to push my opinion, but I try to kind of mostly do it through coaching staff, because I still feel like I fit in very well for now, but I still want to give it time before I try to take over is a bad word, but before I try to push like my opinions more, because I feel like it's just not right and it's not the time for it right now.
Okay. And how has it been working with the rest of the guys? Inspired, especially.
Inspired. Like, I just realized that, okay, I'm a boomer, you know, I'm 26 now. I'm born 1995, and then this guy is born in 2002. This guy is the youngest person I know. So it's really crazy to work with someone so young, but at the same time, it's just so refreshing, because this guy is like, he's kind of the office clown, but he's so good, and he's so funny, and it feels super refreshing to work with someone like Inspired, just because, I don't know, most of the time I worked with people kind of like my age, and I feel like now I'm older than most people here by like, I don't know, 3 or 4 years or so. And but yeah, literal boomer. But I don't know, it feels really good because he's really, really talented, and everyone is like so talented. So I'm really happy about it.
You seem really happy, and I mean, it's maybe the first time I see you within the team where I say, okay, things can go well from the very beginning, really. Like, no, but you guys seem on the same page. I see you on social media and everything. I mean, it's a positive Odo for the beginning of the year, and I like it very much, really.
I mean, it's mostly because our chef. Imagine, Laure.
So
I'm like 7 years in esports, and it's the first time I have a chef that is cooking me 3 good meals a day.
He is
smurfing,
really.
Even if I would be 0-18, I would still be happy, because right until now, we had to, at least in Schalke, we had to like be on delivery food most of the time. In Splice, we had catering, I think, or like food for a bit, and it was like okay, you know, it wasn't like terrible or anything. But right now, when you have this legend just doing 3 meals for you a day, and they're all like, they're the best food I ever ate in my life, and it just, how can I be sad when this guy is just a literal god for us? So it's hard. It would seem like I'm ungrateful for everything he does for us if I would be sad every day, because this guy is just too good.
I tried his food and I agree, it's amazing. You guys should follow him on Twitter. And okay, so good chef, Odo happy. But on a
literally,
more serious note, you said something during the trailer for the match of the week, saying Upset is not riding his hype, but you think you're still underrated. Is it
okay? But that's out of context. Okay, like, everyone says that. Everyone's like,
put in the context then.
Because everyone's like, oh my god, Odo's underrated, but that's not what I said. The guy, the video guy, it's his fault. He put it out of context, because he was like, the question, it started like this: how would you compare yourself with Upset? Because you were teammates together, and you kind of went. And then you went through this. It's like such an innocent question, and I gave like a normal answer, and then it's like, trash talk, and I'm like, what the fuck?
You know what? I didn't even see it as a trash talk. I just saw it as you think you're still underrated, and you still have a lot to show. So my question was, is it finally the year you get to show it with this team? Do you feel like it's the team
I think it
enables you to show greatness?
I think it is, but the thing is, like, my answer for that question was like, because I felt that Upset, coming into every year, he's always hailed as, like, you know, one of the best, second best, third best, like up there, you know, as the great AD carries of Europe. And I said that towards the end, he always kind of ends up not riding the hype, because he always has like really good rosters around him, and they just kind of end up underperforming. Like the roster he had with Origin was like, was good, you know. It was not for 10th place. You had Alfari, you had Nukdak, which maybe he's slumping or whatever, but regardless, that roster is not for 10th place. And that's kind of like the point I tried to make. While for me, it's like, I play in Schalke, or like most of the time, and maybe I have my bad games, But then there's always this discussion that I'm washed up, or I'm like not even good anymore. A rookie should come into the league and take my place, or like I'm like 7th, 8th, 9th. But then somehow at the end of the split, for like the past 6 years, I still always end up in like all-pro team or like 4th in all-pro team. And I'm like, that's my point, you know? Like I always, there's this narrative that I'm washed, but I still somehow, at the end of the year, everyone is like, okay, this guy is top 3 or top 4, you know?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like the point I try to make, but then the guy from the video is like, yeah, guys, I'm still underrated. And I'm like, that literally is not my point.
We want the hype. Thank you for clearing that up. And honestly, I just want to see Odo at Worlds this year. That's all I care about.
Yeah, I mean, to answer your question, because I still didn't answer your question, yeah, I feel like it's up to me kind of to make it happen with Rogue, you know, because I feel like the infrastructure is there, the level of my teammates is there, and it's kind of up to me to step out of my comfort zone even when it's necessary to kind of learn new things or play in a way that my team needs me to play and step up when it's needed. So I feel like if I don't make it this year, or if I don't put out my best performance this year, then I have kind of no excuses, you know.
Mm-hmm. Everything is in your hands. That's how.
Yeah.
That's how everyone heard it.
Yeah, it is. It is.
Well, now it's your turn to prove what you have to show on the Rift and everything. And I can't wait to see you guys next week. I feel like you have an easy schedule in a way.
Who do we play? Let me see.
It's gonna be. I know you have Vitality and who
we
else?
have Misfits and Vitality.
Yeah, that's it.
I mean, at the same time, I miss Vitality kind of dropped the ball big time because they looked okay. Like Duke was doing a good job with them, and we scrimmed them sometimes, and they looked okay. So I'm kind of surprised they went 1 and 2 because I felt like they should have at least picked up one more win. And Vitality, yeah, now is the test kind of for both them and us, because I said earlier that I think they're quite good so far. So yeah, I mean, I'm not in. It's kind of. It's kind
You're
of
on the
bad
other side of the fence now. You're the team everyone fears.
Yeah, it's kind of bad to throw shade on Schalke, but when I was in Schalke and I would see teams like this, I'd be like, yeah, we need to win and stuff. But right now, when you're in Rogue, I'm like, my whole attitude needs to be, we can't lose these games, because if you want to win and be the best, then we cannot drop any game against these teams, you know?
Yep. And we'll be waiting for you on the Rift. Odo, I'm gonna leave you alone now. We'll see you on Friday in the LEC.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks for having me, Laure.